The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
Brad Marcus, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. I'm very excited for today's guest. He's the owner and promoter of a promotion I came across sometime last year when I ordered IWTV for the first time, which you should order IWTV for the first time. Anyways, I fell in like, perhaps even fell in love with this promotion right away. It reminded me of the early episodes of Saturday Night's Main Event back in 1985. Lots of colorful characters, lots of colorful stories, and I found myself laughing several times throughout, which is always a good thing. So I'm kind of in fan mode today, thus wearing my Pizza Party Wrestling shirt. I assure you that the next interview, I'll go be back to interviewer form. Anyway, so without further ado, today's guest is from New Jersey and has started this promotion in 2019. They've had 8 shows so far on IWTV, with the latest being Scotti or Not, which was on June 13th. And then they have their next show, Day Trippin', on August 7th, I believe. And I am correct, August 7th. So let's welcome today's guest, owner, promoter of Pizza Party Wrestling, Mr. Daniel Scotti. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Good. How are you, Brad?
Good. Typically, I don't wear a shirt of who I'm interviewing or related, but like today I woke up, I was really excited for this, so I threw this on. I thought this would be
a good shirt. Thanks for wearing it.
It's a good time to make an exception to that. Thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I have a ton of questions for you. So I won't waste your time chit-chatting. So
fire away. What do you got?
Before we get into Pizza Party, can we talk a little bit about you?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey. I've lived in New Jersey my whole life.
Same town?
I've moved around a little bit, but more or less same area, North Jersey.
Is anyone in your family, including yourself, a Springsteen fan? I'm sorry if that's a very ignorant question.
No, I might be. No, I don't want to say I'm the biggest, but I feel like it's 50-50. Some people love him, some people don't care for him. Yeah.
Is that the same with Bon Jovi? Now that I'm onto music,
I don't know where people sit with my family and Bon Jovi. He doesn't come up often, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. They doesn't come up a lot. So your family, did you grow up with like a big family?
Yeah, big Italian family. Like every Sunday, we were with my cousins growing up, doing Sunday dinner, and pretty much saw them more than I saw my friends growing up.
Oh, I'm sure. So are they some of like your best friends? Like your
yeah. It's funny because we've all gone off and everybody's sort of doing their own thing. But whenever we see each other, we pick up like we never left off.
Like you were kids.
Yeah.
What's the furthest away someone lives from you?
I say
you're close with.
It's funny. We're all like 2 hours away, but it's like 2 hours with different schedules. So we might as well be, 8 hours
You
away
might as
from
well
each
be on
other.
Mars.
Yeah.
So as a kid, what was your personality like?
Very excitable is the term I would use. Yeah. I've always just sort of been over the top crazy about the things I love. Never really sat still in school. My parents would always say that teachers knew that I was trying to bullshit them and just not do work. I just didn't feel like schoolwork was important to me. Yeah, I was one of those kids. I didn't really pay attention in school. As I find out now, I just have crazy ADHD.
Yeah, totally. Nowadays,
Yeah.
that's like getting an ACL injury. You do those outpatient. Were your parents aware of what was happening in school, and you just not wanting to do school?
Well, no, they pushed me to. Eventually, I got my shit. Or can I say that on here?
Are you over 18?
I am.
Go swear away.
All right. So yeah, eventually I got my shit together and found ways to succeed in school, but it was.
Were you an athlete at all?
Not really. I wish I was. I just I wasn't born with the genes to be an athlete.
Yeah. I always sometimes think, what if I tried out for football? Although all my bones would probably have been broken on the first time I got hit. So, I'm brittle. So I guess, so you went to high school. Did you go to college afterwards?
Yes, I did.
And what did you study?
Well, a bunch of things. I landed with psychology. Okay. I switched around schools and majors. And it's funny. I was thinking about it in preparation for this podcast. I was trying to find the thing I could do, and I didn't realize it at the time, that would allow me to have a career and also find a way to get into professional wrestling somehow. And so really I was just trying to get out of school so I could figure out how can I make money to start my own wrestling company. And I didn't realize it was the driving force to it. But as I sit here now, 5 years removed from school, I'm like, oh wait, I was really always like trying to not commit to a future that would take me away from, I guess, what would be starting Pizza Party.
Sure. And I was going to ask you this later on, but I think it's appropriate now. Are you able to kind of step outside of yourself and look at yourself and say, wow, I started a wrestling promote? Are you able to be proud of yourself and appreciate that?
Yes and no. I think there are times where there's definitely imposter syndrome, and I'm looking at it almost forgetting that I'm doing what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I'm definitely one of those people that puts a lot of pressure on myself. So, but I think usually when we get our newest show out is when I can sit there and breathe a sigh of relief and be like, man, this is ours. This is really cool. And then it's okay, now I got to plan the next thing. And then I'm back to sort of worrying about what we got to do next. But there are moments, definitely.
Okay, that's what I imagine, because I imagine there's probably not a lot of time to sit there satisfied, because once you're done with one, you're starting the other.
Yeah.
So I guess this begs the question: when did wrestling come onto your radar?
Okay, so I love this story because it's just so perfect for who I am. So we were at a friend's house. I was in middle school, and they were like, hey, we have to watch SmackDown tonight. The Boogeyman is on. He eats worms. And I didn't know really anything about pro wrestling. The only experience I had about pro wrestling was seeing the Stone Cold ice cream bars and watching someone get hit with a steel chair while channel surfing prior. And I saw Boogeyman eating worms, and I was like, okay, I think I like this. And that was what got me into pro wrestling, watching the Boogeyman. So it's an amazing thing to look back on, where the Boogeyman is this much of a part of wrestling history, and that is what got me in.
But it's cool that you can pinpoint the moment. If someone asks you that, this is when I started loving wrestling. So were your friends into it as well?
Yeah, they were. It was they got me into it, and then immediately almost all of them stopped watching within a few months. So I was the lone kid in my school who, and if I heard anybody else watched wrestling, I would, oh my God, you watch wrestling? And they'd be like, well, I haven't watched in, so they're like, I like Brock Lesnar. I'd be like, he's not there anymore. So who else do you like? They'd be like, I don't know who anybody is. So it was, I kind of just got to enjoy wrestling with my cousins and my brother and I, and that was really it. It was just a handful of people.
Now, some people's parents, some parents don't let little kids watch. Were your parents,
they
were watching, and B, did they have an inkling that there was something going on in your head about your future?
No, they didn't want me to. They thought I'd outgrow it. And I said to them, the night before the first pizza party show, I said, remember when this was just a phase? And but yeah, I don't think they really thought it was gonna go anywhere. They were really supportive. If I wanted to go to a show, I would buy a ticket, and I'd buy a ticket for them, and we would go to, with my dad, like we'd go to Raw, and my dad would sit there. He'd have no idea what was going on, and he would just put up with it. And
was he in a bad mood while there?
No. He was more like, what I think he was most fascinated by was there. Like he would just look around at like all the different walks of life of people that would come in there. Like him seeing the entire spectacle would blow his mind. He didn't really care what was happening in the ring. He was just like blown away that, there were like 16,000 people in the Continental Airlines Arena, all, chanting to boo John Cena or cheer John Cena and fireworks. Like he just couldn't wrap his head around that there was all this fanfare.
It's great that there's great people watching at those events.
Yeah, 100%.
So are those like good memories you have of like you and your dad?
Yeah. It's no, definitely. Because I think having the live experience and being able to experience it, like I was lucky enough that I got to see the 2008 Royal Rumble where John Cena came back as a surprise, and I was lucky enough that I went to WrestleMania to go see Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, the first one. So like I've got to see some crazy matches just by being like, I want to go see wrestling. So, and just like, pretty much spending every dollar I had as a kid to buy, belts and shirts and I was very, very into it, and I'm glad I did, because I think it allowed me to like sort of know what to try to give people in a live experience, because I had gone and consumed so much of it.
Sure. Did you go to any like indie shows in your area ever? Early on?
That was a harder sell for my parents. It was easier to get them to go to the big arena shows, but like to get them to go to an indie show, I didn't have much luck. So I would watch indie stuff on like YouTube, or like if, I would read on like a wrestling dirt sheet who the next big person was, and I would try to find stuff, but I never got to experience like an indie show or anything like that.
At what age could you start going on your own, like without your parents?
When I got my license, I was pretty much free to
like if you had the money.
Yeah.
So had you ever, by the time, say, you graduated high school, had you ever been inside a wrestling ring before?
Yes, I had. I convinced my parents that it would be a good idea for to let me rent a wrestling ring and put it in the backyard with friends on more than one occasion. And somehow they were in on that. And so I got
would your parents ever adopt a 45-year-old man?
I don't know. See, now they wouldn't let us get away with it.
Okay. Okay. Let me just go back a little bit.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Discover that there was a ring to be rented. And the second question is, how much is that cost, and for how long did you get it?
Okay. So I don't know. I guess I've relentlessly Google searched until Google gave me the answer I wanted.
Okay.
And there was one in New Jersey. I think they still do it. But it was when we started doing it, it was $400. The first time we rented, I think it was $400, and then it kept going up as we went and did it. But so then I stopped.
You dividing it up like amongst?
I ate most of it, and then I'd tell my friends, "Hey, come over, and this is how you want to come
Yeah.
up around in the ring, you've got to at least contribute something. So
Who sets the ring up?
they did. They came. They set it up.
Cool.
Yeah, and we thought we were the best wrestlers in the world. And then one time the guys who set up the ring stayed around and watched us, and we found out very quickly we were not as good as we thought we were.
Sure. Did you ever get injured?
My back is probably messed up from taking like wrestling moves on the grass, like consistently from my cousin. Or it's probably again bad genes, but never really like broke anything. Knock on wood.
From the first time you stepped in that ring, how many minutes before you tried going off the top rope?
Oh, it was probably the second thing I did.
That's what I thought.
Okay, this is the ring. Great, let me go up top.
So did you ever did you guys have your friends that have like their own characters and you guys have matches, or was it just everyone's in the ring screwing around?
It was like split. There were a couple kids that watched wrestling that did it, and there were other kids that were just sort of in sheer awe that this was happening, and I could get them to come be like, hey, this is your character. This is what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And people just kind of like, whatever, and they did it. And it was mostly fun for me. My friends were all cool because they came and, did this. They probably didn't have as much fun as I did, but I'm thankful that they sort of gave me that experience to have.
Exactly. It's a great memory that'll never change.
Yeah.
Did your parents say, we will let you do this if? Was there any if on the
if no one gets hurt, or like if nobody can die on our watch. Make sure that they know that they can't die or sue us, and that was it.
Okay, so during this time you're having the ideas of starting a promotion. So in 2018, where are you as far as Pizza Party Wrestling as an idea?
Okay, so it was Pizza Party was an idea that was starting to materialize. Sometime in between that, I had met a whole bunch of people on the internet and had backyard wrestled in various different states with them, and a lot of them had gone on to go do professional things, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to wrestle professionally just because I just knew it wasn't a road I could take. And so WrestleMania was going to be in the area, and I sat there and was just kind of like, well, let's just do, it wasn't even supposed to be a show. It was, well, let's do a taping with our friends that are now professionals, and we'll try to figure out something after the fact. And then it sort of snowballed where there was this other idea to film, stuff to sort of build up to a first live show. And then we ultimately decided, what felt right. And it was, let's just see what happens. Like we just kind of, we put together a show. We announced the show. There was fanfare behind it. Like I couldn't have imagined. And then it was just, all right, I guess we're doing this now. Like, I guess we're in it.
Now, how many people are, on your team as far as getting this all together? It's
a very small team. A lot of it is, through myself and my girlfriend. And then we have 3 other people that are like, that do a whole bunch for us as well. But a lot of like the social media that you see, and I like the editing and stuff, I recently started taking over. But essentially it's, it's a very DIY operation. There's 5 of us really making this happen right now.
And early on, you had no prior experience, correct? Like promoting?
Not really. I took what professional, like real world experience I had to try to bring it to wrestling. Like I came from a marketing background, so that was an easy thing to. Well, I'd say easy. It's not easy. I was at least able to understand what the life cycle of an event was and how to market it. And but other than that, I was kind of learning on the fly.
Now, are people at this point, telling you you're crazy?
Yeah. People definitely said I was crazy. People definitely kind of, Well, here's the thing. So
Mhm.
some people said I was crazy, and then Brad Rush, who's one of our main wrestlers,
Sure.
when I told him about this idea, he moved up from Kentucky to help make this thing happen. Like he said, all right, this is going to happen, and he moved in and he lived with me for 2 years, and we got Pizza Party off the ground. So for every person who said I was crazy, there was one Brad Rush who said, no, we're going to make this happen. Let's do it.
Yeah. That's all you need is one.
Yeah.
So again, at this time in the life of Pizza Party, are you working another like a day job as well?
Yeah. Well, sort of. I just started doing something again just to keep busy because I've been home through the pandemic and
Yeah.
staring at the same walls all day had gotten
Mhm.
old. So I just got back out there.
Oh, okay. So is your okay? Well, again, we'll go back to this point. You filmed this this initial show,
Yes.
and where does it go from there? Like, where's your next thought?
Well, there were two thoughts. There was one,
Okay.
do we wait again and just do this next year and make it a yearly tradition? And the other thought was me sitting down the night, like literally we got back to my apartment after the show and I was sitting there like, okay, I think I have the card for the second show. So it's two varying things. And the card that whatever I wrote down is probably nothing that we would have run. But in that moment, I was like, it was either let's sit back and enjoy this or okay, what's next? And it was somewhere in between the two where with the ADHD were happening at the same time.
Have you put out a lot of money at that point?
Yeah. I for that first show, I had really I just was like, well, we got to do it. So I definitely put way more money into that first show than we've put into anything else. And I've kind of learned how to budget and balance things since then.
Are you a different person than you were now than you were when you started? Like it's night and day amount.
Yeah. I would say yeah, 100%.
Let me ask you something. I could ask this later, but so you put together a show. Could you do a show for 10 times the amount of people? Is it the same thing, just more like on just like a bigger scale?
I guess this is, I hate using it depends, but this is definitely an it depends situation. I think,
Sure.
I think there's always I always have ideas for as we plan shows, okay, this is what we can, this is what is within our means. But if we wanted to, I have a list of, crazy sort of dream matches that are, sitting, waiting in the wings for the day that we need to, that we're able to run and, sell tickets for a 10,000 seat show. I am just sort of that kind of person where I think about things and just kind of write them down.
Oh, that's great. When did you incorporate the actual pizza?
From the get-go, it's still one of those things that I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. Because you're working with limitations of venues and health departments and things like that.
Sure.
But the idea for pizza within Pizza Party was part of the launching pad was going to wrestling shows and realizing that there would be a way to maybe attract somebody who wouldn't like wrestling to a show to maybe say, hey, you come eat pizza, we'll watch wrestling and let's see what happens. And because I've had friends that have gone to wrestling shows. My girlfriend is one of them who, when I met her, was not a wrestling fan, thought I was kind of crazy for being into it. And now, I think she might be a bigger fan than I am.
Oh, that's so funny.
And that, we actually, on our first show, somebody during intermission, I was washing my hands in the bathroom and somebody came in and was like, hey, this is awesome. And I was like, oh, thank you. I was, I couldn't tell if people were having fun and he was like, no, I don't like wrestling. My friends dragged me here and I will come back to this. And I was like, okay, then we've got somebody.
That's great.
Mission accomplished. We got one.
One of your seeds has sprouted.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I want to ask about the girlfriend. I won't wait till later. When did she come into the picture?
With Pizza Party or just period?
Period.
4 or 5 years ago now.
Okay. So she thought you were a little crazy for doing this. Is she is she a big supporter of you though?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Early
yeah,
season?
yeah.
Yeah. And is it ever a problem as far as spending quality time with your girlfriend over your work and stuff? Does she sometimes have to take second fiddle to wrestling?
I wouldn't say that. I think in the beginning, yes, definitely. Like there was
Mhm.
definitely a balancing act, and I think now, especially that she helps with it, I think she's just as driven and passionate to help Pizza Party grow and succeed as I am. So it is really nice that it's never like it's not a line of division between the two of us. It's something we're both working to grow together.
And you don't have to really pay her, right? Like
Yeah, well, in other ways, I gotta,
well, yeah, but
yeah,
in like money. Um,
yeah.
uh, it's funny because my wife hates wrestling. Was not into it at all. But I tell her now, just from like sitting there when she's reading a book while I'm watching wrestling, she probably knows more about wrestling than a lot of people I know just from absorbing, just being in the room from it.
Yeah.
Does your girlfriend watch like WWE or AEW? Has she gotten to that point?
We did for a while. We were a Raw every week, and then we fell off on it, and so it's not something we keep up with. But IWTV is on in the house a lot, and that's more like that's more what we spend a lot of time watching.
Sure.
We'll watch IWTV stuff.
Yeah, that's what I find. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, there's so much stuff on there. It's like overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
Like how much. And like that's what I don't know how I stumbled upon this, last year or whenever I got IWTV. So I want to start a promotion. How am I going about to attract like talent?
Well, that's a good thing. So I don't know if I have the right answer for this. I don't know if I'm gonna give you the right answer. What I did was I just started messaging wrestlers and asking if they were free, and it was during WrestleMania weekend. So I think for us, if you say, "Hey, do you want to work during WrestleMania weekend?" a lot of people were like, "Yeah, no, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely."
sure.
I think it definitely helps. Like we went in cold and blind for the most part. I think it definitely benefits people to sort of make a few relationships beforehand before you sort of nosedive into the mix there, because it is one of those things that helps to have people that you're familiar with. And I think the more we've gotten familiar with a lot of the wrestlers we use, it is only, I think everything gets better when you're, just a little more familiar. Like it's easier to sort of create new things. And, I don't know. I just think that would be the way is to sort of network and find people and make sure you have a clear vision is the other thing.
Were you looking for a particular style of wrestler, particular character, or were you just casting out like a big net?
It was a big net, but it was a big net with finding people that sort of bring out why wrestling is, what makes wrestling great and what people can see that it's rather than the specific, like the body guy, for example. Sure. Not to, some of my favorites are that. But I think to give people an opportunity to relate to all different types of characters and people from different backgrounds.
And I say this in the opening, and I hope this isn't insulting, but part of Pizza Party reminds me of, or maybe it's the opposite, the episodes of Saturday Night's Main Event in the 1985, where I just have this image of them doing a pie eating contest and Hulk Hogan there, King Kong Bundy, like everybody's there, and it was like a very fun atmosphere, and that's when like I started loving wrestling. And this I kind of felt has a little element of that, like fun and like kind of crazy characters and good stories. So after the day, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. How did you know how much to pay wrestlers?
Fortunately, I do have a good friend that I don't know if they want me to drop their name, so I might keep it out.
You don't have to.
Yeah,
And don't have to name amounts either.
Who has been working for a little while on Independence, so it was easy to sort of use them as a gauge to say, hey, is this and there are some people that, in the beginning that they'd say they're, right. And we're, I'm trying to just be a good, honest person. I'd be like, all right, sure, whatever. And they'd be like, whoa, and you kind of, it's learning as you go, you learn sort of. And for me, I'm all about paying people for the work that they do. I know that, there is, that's at the end of the day, I would rather pay people for risking their body, for the entertainment of others, because without wrestlers, there is no pizza party. It's just,
it's just a pizza restaurant.
It would just be me handing out pizza in a
yeah,
hall
totally.
somewhere.
Some strange guy.
Yeah.
Totally. They're like, where does he even make the pizza? He just has it.
Yeah. He's just showing up with pizza.
Yeah, he's just showing up. So over time, how has the production crew grown in size?
In size, it's I think it's relatively remained about the same size. We've added some photographers along the way. Our core video people through the pandemic haven't been as available, so a lot of the stuff you're seeing fairly recently is literally just the 5 of us that run it, operating the cameras, and so it's very, very DIY. It feels, not as high value production as I would like, but it's something that, as we get back into the groove here, that I would love to upgrade and continue to upgrade.
So, okay, hold on. Before I want to throw something in the middle here. Do you ever get to take a vacation?
The pandemic was my break. Yeah, I needed it. I'll be honest. We were going into we were on the collective in Tampa, and then the rug got pulled out from underneath us, and I, just everything with the pandemic and the last year within wrestling, I was so happy to have 6 months where I didn't wake up thinking about what do I need to do next, or I was very okay. As much as I wanted to be back out there, I was okay kind of recollecting ourselves and saying, okay, where do we want to be when we come out of this? And I felt like where we were headed wasn't exactly where I wanted to go. So I feel like where we're headed now, I'm much happier with everything that's coming out this year, because I feel like it feels like the pizza party I wanted it to be. And it's grown. And in addition to being what I want it to be, it's becoming more than what I could have ever realized it was, capable of being for other people. And that, I think, is what has made the last few months so special.
Do you get people do you get wrestlers coming to you now?
Yeah. And what kills me is I want to use as many wrestlers as we can. It's just when we have this, we're building this core of people that we love to work with, and we think embody what, we love about professional wrestling. It gets a little tricky because there's so many wrestlers out there, but there's only so many, spaces available on a card. Yeah.
And at what point did you hook up with IWTV? And did you know that was?
Yeah. I was, that was our first show. Didn't go up on IWTV for a few months after the fact, but I imagine there was going to be a little more I just kind of wanted to get the show out, and we wanted to put it up on YouTube to try to cast as big a net as we could to say, hey, look at us, we're new. And then after we, now we've been sort of exclusive on IWTV, and I love IWTV. I love that this exists. Whenever I explain it to people who are friends and family who aren't wrestling fans, and they want to know where to watch it, I explain that we're on essentially the Netflix of independent wrestling, and that's a pretty cool thing to share with people.
And is it nice to have all your stuff housed in one place, where people can go and check out all your stuff?
Yeah.
Go on.
I was gonna say it's the one thing, as I look through, when we can see who's watching, or not who, but we can see what people are watching on our on the pizza party, shows. It's cool because you will watch, once we drop something new, there comes, somebody will, you can see that people are watching the other shows. So it's cool that not everybody knows about us right now, but when they find us, there's, 6 or 7 shows, maybe it's 8 now on there for them. To go in there and look at, to watch. So it's cool that's something that we have as an option, that they can find it all in one place, and whatever, whether they watch all 8 at once or they watch one and 6 months later they watch another. Like, it's cool that you can kind of watch it at your own pace.
Yeah, that's great. Pause it and come back. And what would you say is the one thing that you learned the most that like you had zero idea about when you started, but now you have like a really good grasp on it?
Flexibility, I think, is
Okay.
the biggest thing, because no matter how perfect you can draw something up in your head, something will always, you just have to always be ready for anything to happen and anything to change, and just be flexible and roll with the punches. We were fortunate our first show where we had help from Action Wrestling's Matt Griffin, who kept the show on track.
Okay.
But after we kind of learned, like, our second show, the speakers like blew out in the middle of entrances for a match. And, like we had, when we were at the Wrestle Factory, there were, things with, the athletic commission and getting a doctor to be like, it's just, you just have to be ready for everything. And you can't, like, if something comes up now, I just kind of nod, say, okay. And, there's no sense in sighing or getting upset anymore, because, as I said before, we had one of our craziest shows ever planned, and a pandemic rolled through, and that show didn't happen. And it was a tough pill to swallow, but there's, it's outside of our control at the end of the day.
Do you feel comfortable now, like putting a show on compared to like your first few?
Well, so we haven't run a show since December of 2019. But we've been doing a lot of tapings lately, and that's been fun because it presents its own different set of challenges. But I think I'm excited and ready to go back to a live show after doing these tapings, because some of the stuff we just filmed is a little more involved. So it's going to be nice to go and just, okay, we're here. We're set up. People are coming in. They watch wrestling. Everybody leaves. We go home. Like that. They've been longer days recently, so I'm like now chomping at the bit to have a show where we can come wrestle and just go.
So I don't know if you can say this or not or reveal anything, but what's the next step?
Okay, so, well, this summer is going to be pretty busy for us. We have a Day Trippin' coming up. It's our first live show back on August 7th. But before that, sometime in July, we will be premiering a new series called Open Late on IWTV.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's probably unlike anything else that is out there right now. And I say that maybe there is, but just nothing that I've seen. But we're working on editing that now, and it's wrestling, but in the guise of a mockumentary, so to speak. So it's got, is it a documentary, is it wrestling, sort of a hybrid of the two, and a lot of like relatable, quirky stories versus rah I'm gonna feud for my belt, or
yeah.
And so it's we just tried to almost do a 180 of what television wrestling is. We tried to just kind of create something different that hasn't really existed before.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I haven't like seen something like that. I was trying to think, maybe it's compared to this, but no. Oh, so that's very exciting. How long is each episode?
Every episode is going to be about 45 to like 50 minutes. Like the first episode is about 40 minutes. So, everything under an hour.
Okay. And is it going to be weekly?
Well, we were thinking about it, but, now I'm thinking maybe we just drop the whole thing at once and see, because that's also something that, it's just because it's not, the stories don't really, there's some, narratives that go through the whole thing, but for the most part, it's just kind of, random stories that we interwove together. And, it was designed to sort of be wrestling that you can fall behind on, and it, not be the end of the world. That if you miss one week, you don't, you don't think, I got to skip the episode, or I can't watch anything else to like catch up. It's everything is kind of loose and flowing, and it sort of resolves itself within the 40-minute episode.
And I think binging is the way to go as far as watching TV, not about drinking and everything, but because you can watch everything, and then as soon as it's over, it's like, oh, I wish it wasn't over. I can't wait for the next, shows to come out or the next season. Okay, so quick question: do you have a pizza preference? Like, do you get this? Like, if you're going to provide pizza, is it going to be the same kind every time?
Well, yeah, we try to stick to the usual. If people were open to more zany toppings, like I'm as a person, the kind of things I like on pizza would make other people, turn their nose up at it. Like I really like Brussels sprouts on pizza. I'm not afraid to admit that might be my favorite topping on pizza.
Breaking news.
Yeah, I eat pineapple on pizza. But like we usually, I think it's plain pepperoni, buffalo chicken, sausage. Those are and then vegetarian options when there's enough demand for it. We usually.
Have you ever heard of Detroit style pizza?
I have, but I don't know what that is.
Okay, so they've been running this Pizza Hut commercial by me, and it's for and it's Detroit style. I'm like, I think they're just making that up. I think they just created a type of pizza. But I should probably do a little legwork and research and find out their answer.
But I don't know. I'm down to try it. I just I've not ever had a Detroit pizza.
Would you be open to taking the show on the road?
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool thing to do. I think we're a far ways away from that right now. But if the pandemic continues to trend, if the pandemic continues to trend downward, and we keep running shows and keep getting more and more under our belt, I don't see why not.
Have you ever? This will be the last wrestling question. Have you run into any serious roadblocks? Have people no-showed, like that kind of stuff?
Serious roadblocks. Nothing.
Like to the point where I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like when you were getting this going. I'm trying to think. I don't have anything that comes to mind that is that made us feel like, hey, we can't do this. We can't get through whatever this is. There's definitely things in the moment that are, extremely frustrating. But at the end of the day, no, I don't think we've had anybody no show. If I don't remember it, it probably means it wasn't a big deal. But I don't think we've had anybody no show. Everything again, it's just roll with the punches, and people have been really cool with us as we figure this out. At our show where the sound blew out, people were fine. I yelled the ring announcements for the rest of the night, and it was all right. People didn't really seem to mind, and that's a cool thing because you're always kind of worried, how are people going to perceive this, and most people are just as flexible as we are. They're laid back. Things happen, and you adapt, and you still have you put on a good show. Is your girlfriend? Does she verbally tell you she's proud of you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. That's great. And maybe I shouldn't ask this because marriage, is that one day?
Oh yeah. No, it's
okay.
Right. That's
You don't have any children, do you?
No children.
Oh, you're so lucky. What about pets?
We've got a cat. He's.
Okay.
I'm surprised he hasn't tried to make an appearance actually while we've been in here.
I'm surprised I haven't heard a meow or something.
Yeah, he's probably upset. That's why. But sometimes he'll just sort of kick this door open and meow and meow and meow till he gets some love and affection.
Can I ask you before I let you go? Can I ask you 5 non-wrestling related?
Go for it,
questions?
Man.
Okay.
Let's do
it. This one's probably the gross one, but have you ever vomited from eating too much pizza in your life?
I don't think so.
Okay. Question number 2. Can you milk a cow?
I can't, but I know someone who can.
Okay, that's a passing answer.
Yeah, it's a phone call away.
You have a milkman. I wish I had something like that to call.
Yeah, well, I don't. Not within this state, but but Brad Rush could probably Could
walk you
do
through it over the phone.
Yeah.
All right, good answer. For $950,000,
All
would
right.
you change Pizza Party's name to Brad Marcus Presents Pizza Party Wrestling?
$950,000? Honestly, maybe.
Okay, that's fine. Maybe works. Would there be okay? Okay, so I didn't really ask. I usually run these by my wife first, so she can tell me if they're inappropriate, but she had to go to work early today, so I apologize.
No sweat.
Would there be any circumstance where you would watch Schindler's List twice back to back?
Um,
I saw it once, and I never need to see it again.
yeah, I mean, I've seen it once. It's a great movie.
Mhm.
I would definitely watch it again, but twice back to back. It's a long movie.
Maybe that 950,000 could go to paying you to watch it back to
maybe
back.
that. Yeah, it's a great movie, and I think everybody should see it. But it's definitely
Yeah.
it's long and it's heavy. So it's
Oh, yeah.
definitely one of those movies after I watched it where I was like, okay, well, I need to go do something, like very
Yeah,
uplifting
totally.
right now. Yeah.
Seriously. Oh, well, which leads me into my next question, kind of more
Okay.
lighthearted. Do you dream or have ever dreamed in cartoon?
I want to say probably. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow. All right, you passed all 5 questions.
Nice.
I'll follow up with you in a couple of years about the $950,000 and how we want to apply that. But so August 7th, day tripping.
Yes.
What can we expect?
A fun afternoon of wrestling. We want to feature as many people that have been part of the tapings you're about to see, and that were on Cakeover and Scotti or Not, and that's what I call wrestling. Last year, we want to I feel like we've really found ourselves through the pandemic. The group of the people that we've sort of put together is we have so much fun when we're all together doing these tapings. So we want to try to bring as many of those people as we can to day tripping to create a really just a fun day of wrestling that hopefully as much fun we had at these tapings, people have in, watching us do our thing live.
Sure, they are. The shows are very fun to watch. Like I find if I'm laughing like more than once, it's
good.
That qualifies
That's what
for
we want.
Will there be a champion crowned at any point?
It's something that we go back and forth on a lot. As of today, no, or maybe. Well, I say never. I've gone back and forth a lot, even in the last few months, about whether we should do it or not. Right now, I don't think so. I don't think by the end of 2021 there will be a pizza party champion. But maybe 2022 we'll have a change of heart. But as of right now, we're just trying to have as much fun as we can before we bring a belt in. Yeah.
Because it adds that then the element of competing, everyone competing instead of everyone wrestling and putting on fun matches, But yeah, I think that's a great idea. All right, it's the time that I have to let you go. Thank you so much. I would stay on, but I have to go.
So would I.
Kids. I know. Those goddamn kids. I don't know why. Well, that'll be a whole other episode of me telling you, please don't ever have children. All right. Well, thank you so much. I obviously will be watching everything that goes on IWTV, and take care. And I look forward to hopefully talking to you again one day.
That would be great. Thank you for having me. And yeah, look out for Open Late as it comes. I'm hoping in July. If I get my act together, it'll be up in July.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care and talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.